we started reading this book, I was like, what happens when four married women accidentally read erotica for their podcast and then have to talk about it?
Narratives and discussions may cover heavy content. For more information and disclaimers, please visit narrativesandnightcaps.com and take care while listening.
Welcome to Narratives and Nightcaps, books, beverages, and author conversations. I'm Bree, always ready to dive into new fantasy worlds and take a step back in time.
I'm Megan, part critic, always team physical copy, and forever chasing good thrillers and a great plot twist.
I'm Emily, your resident mood reader who thrives on chaos questions and lively book chats.
And I'm Jordan, equal parts heart, humor, and high-functioning caffeine addict. I come with coffee in hand, wine on standby, and a Gilmore Girls quote for every occasion.
Cheers!
Cheers!
Well, hello again. It is so good to see all of you. I feel like I've missed all of you, but also at the same time, text thread has been blowing up on this one. So I'm excited to dive into it. Bree has mentioned that she has been on a soapbox. So we are opening up the platform for her to be able to bring that to you, listener.
We can ease into it. I'm not going to scare anybody. And I will say the soapbox is small. She's not a mountain.
She's like a kitten heel. She's like
a little bit. A little kitten heel. Yes.
Not a box.
Yes.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. Well, how are you ladies doing? It feels like it's been a minute or two. We're in the throes of summer. Is everyone enjoying themselves? Good, bad?
I mean, this is the time of year where I get like more than one day of sunshine in a row. So I can't complain. I'm thrilled. It's sunny outside. Like I can predict it's going to be sunny tomorrow. So it's good. Life's good.
I love it. What about for you, Megan? Surviving humidity?
Surviving, I got rid of my watch tan. I'm now one seamless color on my arm, so that was a big feat. I've spent a lot of time outside, so I got that gone.
That's dedication.
Yes. Yeah, it was embarrassing looking back at like the pictures when I went to North Carolina and I could see like a big fat white strap tan line. And I was like, I need to do something about that. So not a fake tan, real tan, got rid of it. So yes, go me.
Bree, you said it's raining. Florida rain?
Yeah, we have a little tropical depression hanging out in the Gulf right now, and so it's pushing some water up here. It honestly, I kind of love it because I really wanted to have, I've been traveling all last week and I just got back at like midnight. And so the fact that it was just this cozy overcast day with light rain intermittently it's also why I look like this, because you're not allowed to get ready on a day that looks like this. No, you can't. That would be insane.
That'd be insane. That would be criminally insane.
Yes.
Would be a bold choice. Yes.
Especially when it's on a Sunday. Like especially when it's that is where the criminal, I'm with you.
Exactly. So I'm kind of here for it because it was so nice. After I laid in bed for far too long this morning, when I finally got up and decided to unpack my suitcase and clean up my house because I hadn't been here in a long time and it needed some tidying. I made some tea. I was like, it's gray out. I need tea while I clean and do. It was the perfect vibe. The aesthetic was there for the day.
I am loving that. Does Kai forget who you are? Does he love when you come home? Like how does that work when you're gone for a long
He cries when I come back. He like cries and just will not let me go. He like rolls around on me and is super, he was very, very, very happy when I got back, and then Jared got back today, so we were a day apart. So he is now living his best life because his whole family has returned. We are once again united and all together. And so here he comes running in because he's excited. I also brought him a present, so he forgave me for leaving
What
him
did you
for so
bring
long.
him?
It's a good present too. I was there for the purchase.
Yes, Megan.
What did Kai come home with? Bring home.
He got an elk antler, like a legit one from an
There
elk
you go.
farm, not from a pet
Nice.
shop. Um,
Wow. Okay.
That's
yeah,
Very
awesome.
nice.
I purchased it at the market, and so he got one now, and the other one is hidden.
I have to say, I think Kai and Coda are way better behaved than my pups. Because Bruce, in particular, my chocolate lab, just throws what I call a doggy temper tantrum whenever I leave him, where a toy gets eaten,
Oh,
the trash gets pulled out,
Does he
like something.
whine?
No, he doesn't whine. He just sits there wagging his tail, like, these are the consequences if you leave me.
that
Yeah.
my so our I feel like our dogs have similar temperaments, Emily, because Millie, she doesn't do it as much anymore now that she's more matured. But when
Yes.
she was younger, her like I'm pissed off at you is she would go over to the trash can and just shred up one
Mhm.
tissue, just one. It wasn't a huge mess, but she would pluck a tissue out,
Yeah.
shred it to bits, and then let us find it when we got back.
Okay, I think then our dogs are more aligned, Megan, because I've gotten
Yes.
to the point where I will leave empty Amazon boxes or like Costco boxes after we've like gone to the grocery store out, and my husband and I call it our sacrificial box. So whenever we leave the house, we go like, "Have you left out the sacrificial box?" And then we come
Yes.
home and it's shredded into
Shredded.
cardboard, and we're like, "We outsmarted you. Gotcha."
Yes. And also easier to recycle now
Easy.
because
Yeah,
it's
and
shredded.
then and so
So
now,
actually,
yeah,
thank you. This was your contribution,
right,
Bruce, to the
right,
household.
right. And then we all pick it up, and it's a whole big family affair. You gotta love having dogs.
I love that because that's almost a transition into Rue's relationship with Tiny. So maybe we'll come back to dogs a
There
little
you
bit
go.
in this book. We'll see. Who knows?
Clever,
Who knows?
clever.
But listener, we are covering Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I absolutely want to hear Bree's soapbox after Emily takes it away with this drink pairing. So please take it away, my
Yes.
friend.
So I think we had talked about this earlier that we're doing two Ali Hazelwood books before we jump into what I'll call a more traditional series, right? So, and like the others, I had some fun putting together what spirit we're going to choose for these two. And after the nature of this book, which I know we're going to talk about, tequila was the only one that seemed appropriate. So I went with what I am dubbing the uncontrolled burn margarita because there was no
You named
control.
this? This is your name.
I picked, yeah, uncontrolled. I mean, it's a margarita with there should be cherry juice. I ran out. Sorry. It's a margarita with, and I'll talk through, but there's 3 layers of burn of spice in this, which so it's a margarita like cousin. But tequila in and of itself, like the original spicy spirit, brings 1 layer of spice and heat to this drink. The second layer is I did make a homemade ginger syrup. So the ginger brings another like level of spice to it. And then I think you can see on the video, the tahine on the rim is the third layer. This book has, like, I think we can all attest. I didn't know what I was necessarily getting into. It was entertaining, I'll give you that. But I didn't know the level of spice. And I think several of my text messages and all of ours were like, wow, what? Are you sure? Like all of the above. So I just felt like since there was no control on this burn, this particular margarita for this pairing needed several layers of spice to actually line up with this book. So cheers.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
Emily,
I
that was
love
beautiful.
that.
I
Was
love
very
that.
good. Okay, so now I'm curious around the room, who prefers a tahine or a salt
There
rim
you go.
if you have to
Oh,
choose?
I'm a tahine every time. Otherwise,
You're
I'm
a
going for
tahine.
salt.
Yep.
Okay.
I have a confession. I've never had tahini before. Never had it. Never tried it. Don't know. Don't know the flavor profile. Don't know.
Okay
Oh my
then.
gosh.
Oops.
Megan, I have a treat. Okay, maybe this is more for Jordan and Bree, but I have a treat for you this summer. If you should try watermelon and tahini.
I have seen that, and I will give that a
Haven't we
try.
talked about this
Yeah.
before, Emily? I feel like you actually have mentioned watermelon and
Hi.
tea. Maybe off pod. Maybe it was when we got together a couple months ago. But I feel like I remember
Yeah.
you talking about watermelon and tahine.
Excellent summer treat, watermelon and tahini. Because the salt and like lime that is tahini, like it's extra salty, basically, fancy salt. And then the sweetness of the watermelon, highly recommend.
Okay, I
Good
will
to
have to
know.
give it a try.
That's good to know. I'm a salt rim girly. I'm not gonna lie.
Interesting.
I that's just my preference. Okay, well,
Yeah.
anyway,
So cheers.
listener, let me get into this plot summary while Emily takes her sip, and then we're gonna have Bree take it away with this soapbox. So here is
Called
the
out, Brie.
I think I have like, okay, actually, no, continue, and then I have some
yep,
things to
yep,
say.
Ready.
and then you're kicking us off. Let's go. Okay, listener, here's the setup. A forbidden secret affair proves that all's fair in love and science. Rue Siebert might not have it all, but she has enough. A few friends she can always count on, the financial stability she yearned for as a kid, and a successful career as a biotech engineer at Klein, one of the most promising startups in the field of food science. Her world is stable, pleasant, and hard fought, until a hostile takeover and its offensively attractive frontman threatens to bring all of it crumbling down. Eli Kilgore and his business partners want Klein, period. Eli has his own reasons for pushing this deal through, and he's a man who gets what he wants, with one burning exception: Rue, the woman he can't stop thinking about, the woman who's off limits to him. Torn between loyalty and an undeniable attraction, Rue and Eli throw caution out the lab and the boardroom windows. Their affair is secret, no strings attached, and has a built in deadline: the day one of their companies will prevail. But the heart is risky business, one that plays for keeps. Okay, Bree, soapbox, take it
So
away.
I don't feel like I can just do that because I will say my soapbox, I think, is gonna steal some thunder a little bit. So I'm like nervous to get into it because it, one, I will say it's a topic that has come up on the podcast before and it related to a different book. And I didn't say anything. And then I like noticed in your notes that we might head in that direction again. And I was like, okay, I need to talk about this. So I
Do
don't
it.
want to steal your thunder necessarily. I'll just start unless you really want me to. I will start by like, because I was thinking about this, Emily, when you were talking about your pairing. When we started reading this book, I was like, what happens when four married women accidentally read erotica for their podcast and then have to talk about it?
I
Yes.
mean,
Here we
you
are.
know,
Like,
there you go.
because, so I will say, I've read Ellen Hazelwood before, so maybe I shouldn't have been so surprised. And yet, still, I turned to page one and there's a full author's note about it. And I was like, oh, this might have been good information for all of us to have.
You know, well, okay, and I will add to this because I think I had texted each of you individually. We, listener, I will just be completely upfront. I think we kind of kept some of this off like our group chat, and maybe we took it a little bit like offlines or like roundabouts, because Emily and I individually texting each other talking about like where does this fall on the spice scale for Ali Hazelwood, right? Because I think Megan's the only one that has not read. This is Megan's first Ali Hazelwood. Bree, Emily, myself, all of us have read Ali
Well,
Hazelwood, or at
I'll
least
say
some.
though, I've only read Bride and Mate, which I know is like its own corner because it's got the paranormal like
That's
element to it.
true.
So I feel like this, and I'm just gonna jump in. I think this was spicier than Bride, maybe not, maybe as spicy as Mate, but the spice happened earlier in this book, so it went longer than it did in Mate. I don't know if any of that made sense.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so I've potentially read the most Ali Hazelwood then. Or wait, what else have you read, Bree?
I have read The Love Hypothesis,
Yep.
which I love. I've already talked about this on the pod. I'm actually so excited for the adaptation. Um, which side note, I because of the actor that's in that, I just finished Behind Her Eyes. If anybody's watched that on Netflix, it's also a
Mm-mm.
book. Okay,
Good.
well, very interesting, Megan. I think you would potentially really like that show. I don't know. Um, but yeah, okay, just finished that, and that actor is going to be in The Love Hypothesis. So I read The Love Hypothesis, and I have read Bride.
Okay. Okay.
Ta-da.
Okay. Because I've read Bride and Mate, The Love Hypothesis, and I've read Deep End.
Oh, yep. I haven't read it, but I am very familiar with when that blew up on Book Talk and Bookstagram.
Yes.
And
So
therefore I felt like I didn't need to read it.
fair, fair. So this would be my fifth, and I will say I rank it pretty high in on the spice scale for Ali Hazelwood personally, but that's an opinion.
I will
That's
say, and that, like, in general too, your spice level is like very much subjective, and
yes.
it's so hard to put a label on that for anybody to me. And I
It,
texted Megan about this on the side. This was Bones meets 50 Shades of Grey. Dr. Brennan
Yes.
meets Christian Grey, which I will say I actually love that. Like the second, well, I don't even know what we were talking about, Megan, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is Bones erotica. Like this is Bones erotica.
We were talking about Rue because
Yes.
I feel, and I've now learned that this is purposeful, but that Ali Hazelwood tends to write her female main characters this way, but that I felt Rue was a little bit more neurodivergent in like just her fixations
Mhm.
on things and like how she likes her life to be. And I understand that she had like past trauma that probably led to some of those tendencies as well. So that's where we kind of got like, oh, this is Bones. Like this is that
Never thought of
actress and that, storyline
Yeah.
meets 50 Shades of Grey, but maybe even a little more 50 Shades of Grey. Like I personally I feel like 50 Shades was tame compared to some of the things that I read in this particular book.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
And
I
I
have not read 50 Shades, so I can't comment on that. Go ahead,
Oh,
Emily.
my
I
goodness.
haven't
Okay.
I haven't read 50 Shades either, but I think I'd agree with you, Megan, on this one. But what for me, what was different about this was one, the nature and how Rue and Eli met. Like it was a dating app explicitly for the purpose of hooking
Yes.
up. Like that set a certain tone. And the second piece was is I feel like by the time we were even on page 15, like we had already jumped into spice. Like we'd already like dove off the cliff. Whereas in, at least for me, an opinion, like the other books that I've read, there's more of a build up. So you don't hit that point until like later in the story. It doesn't come in quite so upfront. And both of those made it feel like extra, if that, at least from my viewpoint.
Agreed. I think I just have this is just a personal preference when it comes to that, because like we can get into it more. I I really appreciated a lot of the dynamics between Rue and Eli, and I thought how their relationship came to be was just really, it was unique, it was interesting. It wasn't anything I've read before. I personally, like, I love the yearning that comes with the build up
Mm-hmm.
to that. Like that is just something that I love in the contemporary romance or any sort of romance genre and subgenre that I read. So when we like literally jumped right into the deep end with this, I was like, "Oh, okay, here we go."
No, I'm with you. I love the yearning. I love the pining. All of
Yes.
that is fantastic. Megan, I love your spin. I love your take on Rue being on the spectrum, being somewhere neurodivergent. I actually had not heard that or conceptualized that. And being the one on the pod that's probably the most obsessed with Ali Hazelwood and that loves Ali Hazelwood, you would think that maybe that would have clocked, but it absolutely didn't. So I do love that. But anyway, so and I appreciate you, Emily, kind of keeping us on track as far as the plot. So yes, it starts and we know that Eli and Rue meet through this app. Did anyone initially think so when that first date gets ruined? Did anyone think that the guy was going to be her brother? We'll talk about Vince for a second because he kind of like pops in and out of the story. But that was like not what I had clocked at all. There were like a couple twists and turns, including that one. I did not anticipate that he was her brother. I don't know. What about any of you?
I didn't initially either. I didn't think that that was a really interesting, well, it was a really interesting subplot to Rue specifically, that I think I appreciated a lot when it came to once we finally got to understand a little bit more of her history and all of that. But no, I'm right there with you. I for sure thought that he was some sort of jilted hookup. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
like it
even,
was
I'm not even calling a
like
jilted lover, like a jilted hookup.
no, like it was like a previous like date gone wrong or some type of stalker situation. That was my. I don't know if Megan or Emily have anything they want to add on that, but
Well, I have to say, because I thought the same. It kind of it sets up so you are inclined to think that way. But following Vince, like his theme throughout the book, he does come back up. But I actually was hoping he was gonna like I was looking for more Vince because that's something that Rue and Eli share is they both have a sibling that they both feel in different ways that they've abandoned or weren't as close to at a certain point, like because of trauma and family circumstances. So I thought there was going to be some, I don't know, he was going to play a bigger role, like when that was the first scene and it was going to kind of come up more. And I was actually a little disappointed and surprised that it wasn't as prevalent later in the story.
The just the flip side,
Yeah,
different opinion.
yeah,
Because I agreed it was like this similarity between, and I appreciated that the story showed both sides. Like
yeah.
one that had sort of reconciled, if you will. Obviously, Eli and his sister are they're living together, and I appreciated that it wasn't. I appreciated that it showed like not every family dynamic just gets wrapped up in a nice bow, and not those relationships aren't always resolved or have the ability to be resolved. So
Fair.
I I actually because I forgot about that till you mentioned it, but I remember thinking how like I love that they were able to find that commonality between the two of them, but then that there was also representation of sort of the two
Oh,
general paths that it can
fair.
go.
Fair.
that's well said. I
You're
would.
fair.
I think that that's
Oh,
yeah.
thank you. I felt like I stumbled over that.
No, no, I thought you did great. Um, okay, well, we kind of started off talking about the spice of it all. I think that we'll get back to that in a minute. Again, don't forget, listener, we are spoiler friendly here at the series special corner. We are not spoiler free. So we're not going to get too crazy on this podcast, I don't think, about that. But I do want to split off for a second and talk about the friendships in the book and just kind of the dynamics of it all, right? So Rue works for Klein, founded by Florence, who happens to be one of her like two friends in the world that she has, right? And we'll talk about Eli and like his group from like the Harkness group and their friendship and whatnot. Um, but what did you ladies think and how did you feel about Ali Hazelwood's writing, the relationships, the friendship dynamic in this book? I'm curious about that.
I I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. I felt like I felt like it was real. Like I feel like she wrote a real female friendship and how that also has very different dynamics compared to how others treat their friends as well. I found it kind of strange to be like that close with your boss, especially as like
Okay.
from like a mentorship standpoint to be that involved in like the personal life as well. I understand like, we've all been in corporate positions or we are in current corporate positions and so I feel like you do get really really close to your coworkers, but I don't know that I've ever said like, "Oh yeah, my boss is my best friend." So like I felt like that was a little strange to me.
Does
Just
it make a
the
difference to you that like she was friends with Florence first before she was an employee? Or no? You still
I
feel like there would be like boundaries?
I
What do
feel
you
like there should still be boundaries because even that friendship before the company started was more of like a mentorship. So to me, like she's always been in this position of a little bit more power than Rue has had. So she's always someone that like Rue can look up to. But I worry then, as we see in the book, that sometimes that kind of dynamic then takes advantage of the younger person or the lower on the food chain, if you will, when you have a friendship or a seeming friendship with someone in that much of a position of power.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's well put. I wrote down in my notes, I said, Rue rides hard for her friends. And like talking about just the loyalty of it all, maybe the what you're talking about too, right, is like just an imbalance of power that kind of happens in those relationships. And
I think the only thing with that too is like it's almost like loyalty to a fault. Like then she
yes,
was blind to everything else that was going on and who Florence actually ended up being. So then of course that hurt her more because she was so ride or die that she was like, I mean, then it was just the ultimate betrayal once we discuss that betrayal.
we'll get right to that because then we'll get back to the spice. Did Bree and Emily want to comment further at all about the friendships in the book too?
I think I'll just say that Megan, I agreed completely. I thought the Florence Rue dynamic was weird. Like I don't know. That was just a not one that I completely bought into. I did really like though, because Rue is so like ride or die for I think it's Tisha. Did I
Tisha. Yes.
Tisha, thank you. Right, and Florence. I really appreciated the part later in the story where Tisha gets back to Rue when she finds out about Eli. And basically, she is ride or die for Rue. And she's like, if
Yeah.
this is the guy and this is your person and this is it, and you're telling me that like you have all these feelings, then I'm with you. And
It
I
seems way
really
more a friendship of equals
equal. Like
there.
that felt
Yeah.
more like a loyalty reciprocated and caring reciprocated, and like they are supporting each other. And I really appreciated that part because you never get that vibe for reasons we find out, but from Florence. Like when we're talking about meeting the friends and you know how that evolved.
Should we go into that, or did you want to add anything further, Bree, before we talk about the grand betrayal, I suppose?
No, I mean I think I echo what everyone's already said in that I also thought just their relationship or their friendship was odd and strange. And I mean, I know it's not necessarily stated this way, but like Rue was kind of blindly loyal, but she also kind of had to earn Florence's friendship, and I don't think that that's how friendship works.
No,
Yeah.
that's well said too. Yeah, to have to earn that loyalty or that friendship. I would agree. So, listener, if you couldn't pick up on it already, we're not like the biggest fans of Florence, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that as CEO of this major industry, right? This major corporation, it is revealed that Florence essentially stole intellectual property from Eli. Oh my gosh, now I'm blanking on their names too, from the Harkness group. I know Connor Harkness, but then who was the one that was most impacted? There were some fun names in this book. Sorry, let's talk about that for a second. We got Tisha, we got a dog named Tiny. We got um oh, oh gosh, the
I thought it
married
was like
couple. Trying to
yeah,
think.
Mammy. But I think Jordan, it was more than just stealing like intellectual property too. They
Yes.
were her graduates. Like I almost see it as a bigger betrayal than just taking the internet and the patent from them and filing it just in her name. But she was everybody's mentor. She was Connor's mentor. She was Eli's mentor. She was everybody's mentor, and she claimed credit for the team's work. And like that is just so part of when the Harkness Group, which is a PE private equity firm, comes in, you know, is that like it was revenge. Like it was completely to do
Yep.
the right thing, but
Yes.
to get it back. And then when we find out, I'm sure we'll talk this, like she's doing the same with Rue, like in the last couple chapters,
Yep.
that's when I got like fired up. Not in a spicy way, in like a I wanted to crawl through the book and strangle her.
I think you
Well,
were going to say Minami. I do not know how
Yeah.
anybody else pronounced her name because I didn't listen to this book. I read it. I think it was Minami. Anyway, but yes, you are correct. It went beyond even just the stealing of
Yeah.
intellectual property in that way, which this day and age especially I think is just so gut-wrenching and heartbreaking, and there's all kinds of different nuances that go into it. So talking about that, when did each of you kind of start becoming suspicious that there was merit to Eli, Colin, Minami? There was reason behind what they were doing.
I
When
remember.
did that kind of start going off for you? Yeah.
I had like it was a bolt of lightning moment for me when it was probably midway through the book when Rue is having like effectively a one-on-one with Florence in Florence's office, and she asks about has the board signed off on Rue's patent? Like has the paperwork been filed for Rue's patent? And Florence responded with like, "Oh yeah, we'll get to it. PE firms in the building." It's like she had this like brush off answer. And that was the moment I was like, oh, you want to borrow your term, Jordan? You smarmy weasel. That's where you're headed. That was exactly
Ooh,
the moment. But
bringing
like,
back the smarmy weasel
yes.
term. I love it. No, and I think that that was the same conversation that I started to grow suspicious because wasn't that when she like went in for her evaluation or something like that?
Yeah.
And Florence was like, "Oh, yeah,
Don't
like
worry about it.
you're great, you know. You're one of the few that I don't have to worry about. Not a big deal." So it was I applaud Ali Hazelwood because I think she like drops the breadcrumbs like subtle, not so subtle in a way sometimes too. You're like, ooh, we're gonna come back to this. I don't know, Bree, Megan, was that the same for both of you, or what did you think?
I feel like mine might have been a little bit later when Harkness like confronted her, or there was a moment where they were like something about like she knows all of our names, or like she knows exactly who we are. And for me, that's when I was like, oh, well, how would she have already known that? Like, well, this whole time she's acting like she doesn't know who they are. And she's, because at first I felt sympathy for her. Like, oh my gosh, you are just this one little tech gal. You've blown up your business in such a big, important way, seemingly. And now like people are after you. And I feel like there was a moment, yeah, I don't remember the exact scene, but it was basically like, oh, she knows our names, or like, oh, she already knows who we are. And I was like, okay, so there is like a previous life connection
Yeah.
going on that we're not privy to yet, but it's gonna come about.
And I think that that was at that dinner at like Colin's house. It might have been for his birthday, or not Colin's, Eli's house. And it might have been for like his birthday or something like that. And that was when she learned that all of them had gone to UT Austin and that
Yeah.
they had all been around the same time. I believe that that's the scene that you're talking about, which
Yeah.
wasn't like super duper far after the like evaluation conversation. It was kind of somewhere there in the middle. Was there a moment for you, Bree, at all?
I don't know if I can remember. I'll be
Yeah.
completely honest.
No, no.
I'm like, I don't know if as we're talking, I'm like, I do remember all of the little breadcrumbs that I felt like I was questioning. I will say that somewhere early on, well, I didn't necessarily clock Florence as being quite as calculated until the points that you guys are mentioning. But early on, I definitely thought there was more to the story when there were mentions of like, they did some digging into the private equity firm into Harkness, and people were saying, oh, they actually have a really great reputation for the companies that they get involved with. They this, then that, and there was all this positivity around it. And in the real world, I would be so suspicious of that, and I would be like, I'm so far out the door Like, there's no way. But in this, the way that it was portrayed, I kept thinking, okay, there's more to this story. But like I said, I didn't necessarily think that Florence was going to be so involved in their revenge plot until all of those moments started to happen over how she was being so vague with Rue and how and then them saying like, oh, she definitely knows who we are. And it was certainly, very early on in the story when they are saying there's no communication between Florence and Harkness. I was like, that's a very weird dynamic. That's strange. So don't know if that answers your question, but
No, but I think it speaks to kind of the way that Ali Hazelwood wrote it, right? Writing it in such a way that like give you breadcrumbs, be kind of subtle. I'm sort of stuck on the smarmy weasel of it all. It's been a little while since we've seen a female character be a smarmy weasel, I feel like. Maybe, maybe not. I'm trying to think back to the last time I've used that term. I'm like, was it regarding a female character or because typically I
I know
reserve
there's
that for
been
males.
I
But
know there's been some, but Florence definitely deserves the title, in my
she's
opinion.
in the category, 1,000%. I will not
She fits the
disagree.
bill.
She does. She 1,000% fits
Yeah.
the bill. Oh my gosh. Well, and the loyalty to a fault, right? Because you can like look at it with this different lens now and go, oh my gosh, Rue, 1,000%. Like, you should have gotten your patent. You should have walked like you know, as much as humanly possible. But then at the same time, you kind of understand you know, the whole it's not personal, it's business, but oh yeah, like at the same time, there especially to patents, to intellectual property, all that like that's personal too. That's personal
Totally,
too.
totally is. I
I
was
don't know.
laughing, Jordan, at Bree's face at the beginning of your statement because it was,
Yeah.
there was no poker face had at that moment.
Nope. Nope. None to be had. None to be had. Okay. If I'm missing anything, tell me. We're going to go back to the spice of it all for a second. So, in terms of the ratio, I'm a little curious here where this falls for everyone. So, like, how much sex or how much steam versus plot ratio is your preference? And where would this fall on that scale?
A really good question.
it's a great
I
question.
I feel like
Props to Emily. She came with that question.
I will answer it with an I feel statement. I feel that um I feel like this book without the sex could have been just as good as a stand. Like that's just such an interesting um I guess plot in general of like this big I mean PE takeover of a small corporation and just kind of the sciencey stuff like it was almost giving semi like modern day lessons in chemistry if you will. So I kind of enjoyed that aspect and felt like that alone could have been standalone without the steam. However, I don't necessarily feel, I mean, the whole point of the book is to be a steamy book, I feel. So I mean, it's hard for me to gauge, I guess, what the ratio should have been, but my point is that I think it could have gone without, but I think it's to her reader's preference that it was included, if that makes sense.
There you go.
And I might be admitting that I might not be a preferred reader for her.
You admit it?
And that is okay. Emily, Bree, what are your thoughts?
I so I wouldn't ever say that I think of it in terms of an exact percentage. I think I've said before and I stand by that as long as there is plot, um that is what I care about first and foremost. And so and I did really like the plot story with the PE takeover and Rue as a character, all of that and her dynamics. So I don't know that I ever think about it as like a percentage wise, but like I already mentioned, I am the just a personal preference. I tend to like romance and spice just a little bit farther along. That's just my style. I love that. I love the yearning. I love the tension that happens with all of that. So this one jumped in a little sooner than I would say is my typical cup of tea, but
There you
um
go.
and and two, like I generally prefer spice that also moves the plot forward. In most cases, so that is typically what I'm looking forward for to, or what I'm looking for. I don't know what happened with my words there. Um, but what was I gonna say? Oh, when it comes to like whether or not I enjoy the spice in a book, is just more so like often comes down to the language that's used
Yes.
No,
and
that's
whether
Yes,
real.
yes,
and
100%.
whether or not I get the ick.
So
Yeah.
did this give you the ick then?
Yes.
Not every time,
Not every,
but
yeah, not every time. Certain
not every
scenes.
time.
Certain
But
scenes.
there were some certain scenes that I was just like,
Could have done
not
without.
well.
I
I'm like,
think, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Bree.
go, Megan,
Oh,
go.
well, I was just gonna say, for me, this is again, and I feel this is who I am. I am not a dirty talk person. And so as soon as he's like, oh yeah, baby, you like it, I'm just like,
I'm just like,
fuck this. I'm out. This is
Well,
so cringy. I'm like cold sweating having to read this language because it is so just, it's yucky.
picturing
It's
Megan
yucky to
reading
me.
it
I don't like
and the
it.
cold sweats. I love it.
But I will say, like, I can read sex, I can read steam, you do what you got. You're gonna bang in a car, awesome. You're gonna give him great head, awesome. But like his commentary throughout, I was just like vomiting on myself the whole time.
Oh my gosh.
That's where I draw a line.
Well,
There you go.
and look, and that's completely like I'm sure some people read. I don't necessarily mind it in a book because I actually like I'm not gonna name names, but like I can think of a book right now where it's such a crucial scene in that book that there is like dirty talk, and I don't remember like getting the ick. It's all in just what happens, and also this is not to yuck anybody's yum either. Like you 100% like you do you and what you like, so take all of this with a grain of salt. But I agree. The second it's like, oh, you like that, I'm like, oop, and I'm out.
no.
Done.
No. And I think part of it is because she, for me, wasn't reciprocating. Like she was
No,
not talking
that's a
back.
good point
And
too. That's a
so
Yeah.
I
really
just
good
felt like
point
it was
too.
a very like domineering dynamic where he's like, yeah, you're gonna take it. And what if she's like, no, I don't want to? You know, like I just feel like there was not enough reciprocation during the moment. I feel like afterward they actually had a lot of good conversation about their kinks and their preferences and like why they do things a certain way. So I thought that was all very healthy. But like in those moments, I was just like, I don't think so.
No, I will agree. It felt like he was definitely way more into that, I feel like, than she was, which we can also get into. And outside of like the sex or the steam of it all, when they talk about their trauma, when they talk about their past and different things like that, they are vulnerable, they are transparent with each other, and they have really great communication that goes a long way. And I think that that's what you're touching on, Megan. I don't know if Emily, you had some thoughts on this one too, as far as like, I mean, it
do,
was
but
your
I
question you threw out there.
no, it's okay. That's okay. No, it's all good. General thoughts. I would say I agree with, I think, everything that's being said. For me, like, I don't mind super spicy, steamy scenes in a book or, whatever the case might be, but it really has to serve the plot. Like,
Yes.
for me, it's all about the plot, the world building, because hello, romantasy, it's what I like to read. But like the plot, the world building, and like the character arc and development. And if it's supporting those, then that is then how the story's going to flow. For me, I think this one tipped the scale a little bit in the other direction, where I felt like the spicy sex scenes were in the driver's seat, when I prefer to have like the plot, the characters, and the world building like be in the driver's seat.
Yeah, that's a good way to
I
put it.
didn't feel that way, and I'm just comparing because Bride and Mate, right? I know they're a little bit different with the parental bit. Those I felt, because of the world building from an Ali Hazelwood standpoint, like was a bit different, and I would almost say this one was spicier. Just from that standpoint, I also, Bree, share your thoughts. I do like the more like yearning and romance and getting to know each other, and like kind of in the beginning of the book. Ali Hazelwood writes wonderful stories and she makes choices in her stories. For me personally, an I feel statement, my opinion, I almost would have loved to have flipped the order of the book as far as their relationship, and had them meet like a meet cute at the ice rink that they shared that connection with. And then been like at the ice rink, she mentored his sister in figure skating. He's a hockey player. And then they realize it's the PE firm takeover and the science, and there's like a slow build that way. Just for my taste would have been, I think, a little bit more for me than we're jumping into an app that is for a very explicit reason and we're just right there.
No, I like that. That's a good point.
Agreed.
Did anyone feel like, because Emily, now that you mentioned it, like I completely forgot that was part of the book. Did anyone else just like totally forget about the ice skating portion and that he's like some hockey player from who knows where? And I just like, that did not feel relevant to me at all. Like, I don't think that was a needed detail.
Maybe not, but part of me wonders. So, listener, for like the next one, right, we're going to be reading Problematic Summer Romance, and that one is following like his sister and her journey, and part of me wonders if it's going to circle back to some of that. Did it feel like subplot, like B plot, like you're talking about, that was kind of like fluff in there that I could have done without? In my opinion,
it was
I
an
don't agree with you.
Sorry, Brie, I know I'm jumping in, and but like with you, Megan, I like got to the last, it felt like it was only in the last 40 pages maybe of the story. Yes. And it's like, well, where was this 100 pages ago? I don't know. Yeah. Again, my like meet cute and rink and like getting to know it, and like a whole, you could do several scenes in that.
And then it's like, come to find out later, oh yeah, you're matched on an app.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to redo all of Ali Hazelwood's storyboarding, but like that would be my personal preference. Sorry, go ahead, Brie.
Oh no, because I'm about to take us in a totally different direction, so I'm so glad you finished your thought. But not to take us totally off of the book too, but this, like, I know that the next book is about Eli's sister and about Connor, and I'm like, and I don't like Connor. I'm like, I don't really care for him. And and I'm sure that that's partly or maybe not partly, maybe entirely intentional, but I'm like, oof, I don't super care for him. So I'm a little bit, obviously I'm going to read it, but I'm a little bit nervous.
No, I'm glad that you shared that. And I look forward to like jumping in when we've read it for our next one to see where that goes. Go ahead, Emily.
I am throwing this out. We can pick this up in the next episode, but it reminds me of Carly Fortune's like Every Summer After and One Golden Summer with Charlie. And I wonder, is Connor going to be the next Charlie?
Yes, and I'm obsessed with Charlie. I think he's like arguably I liked One Golden Summer even better, and I never ever. So yes, come back to me, because I would 100% like, and I loved Every Summer After, don't get me wrong. When One Golden Summer came out, I was kind of like, ooh, like he's iffy. And then I absolutely loved it. So I could eat my words next month.
I'm predicting Connor Harkness is the next Charlie Florrick.
There you go. Revisit that. That takes us to a sidebar tangent. Am I the only one that has watched Every Year After?
Oh no, I've watched it.
Okay, good. Cool. Oh no, Emily, you haven't? Okay, and Megan, no.
I don't know if I have. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It's
I
not
don't know if
ringing
you
any
want
bells, but that doesn't mean that it hadn't been watched in a previous lifetime of mine.
Yeah, I'm like super curious to hear your thoughts. I don't know if we should take this off pod or I like want to know what you think of it though.
Oh no. Okay, you should have told me so I could have prepped for that. Um, how do I? Okay. I, you know what? it's fine. Like, as someone who loved the book, the show let me down.
Yep.
And they made it, I get it. Film and TV development is a totally different animal, a totally different beast. You have to make creative choices 100%. To me, they changed some like foundational things in that book that were the reason that I loved that book. In terms of who those characters were and what their relationship was. And so for those reasons, I watch the whole thing 100%. I did. I made Jared watch it too. And like he never hated it, so there's that. Um but I definitely just was a bit disappointed. The soundtrack for it, Chef's Kiss, beautiful. They did a wonderful job. The
No
music
notes. No
was
notes.
no notes. It was brilliant. But yeah, and I could say more, but I will just end there.
Happened there. No, I think that was well articulated. I probably had less not to try to say like Brie you had too high expectations or whatever. Like I agree that they changed things foundationally that didn't maybe give me the warm fuzzies or like sit super well with me, but I also didn't go into it with ultra high expectations. I was like, it is what it is. I'm going to go into it for the enjoyment of it all. And it was scenic. It was beautiful in that way. So I can appreciate that in a lot. Anyway, we're not talking about Carly Fortune. We're not here to talk about Carly Fortune. We're here talking about Ali Hazelwood. But I had to know because we have not.
I will say I do think that Charlie Florrick was perfectly cast for that. And so I
So
think
good.
he is great for that role. So I'm so excited that they
Agreed.
want to continue it.
Well, and I think that's actually a decent segue. If there isn't really anything else that we kind of want to cover or talk about, let's talk about like the male main character energy of it all, right? Like
This is my
male main
soapbox.
characters written by female authors. Was Eli too perfect?
This is my
Yes.
soapbox. So if anybody wants to go first, feel free.
Oh,
No,
free.
no, you have the floor. You have the floor.
I feel like I've been talking a lot. Okay. I want to be like very careful about how I say this. Nah, to an extent. If it comes out spicy though, I apologize. Um, so like I know that this conversation is a bigger topic in the book community when it comes to male main characters written by females, and it's often in some way, shape, or form presented as like, oh, well, he was like too perfect of a man, or he's unrealistic. And I don't know if that just needs to be rephrased in general, and I don't have the solution for us, but I do think that setting it up that way is like doing such a disservice because I think that women should be writing who they envision as, if you're writing romance, you should be writing who you envision as the perfect man or like the ideal. And that doesn't mean that that character still doesn't come with flaws and trauma and other things that they're dealing with. But like, it really bothers me when readers are like, oh, and he's too perfect, because I'm like, so they wrote a man who is like respectful, who cherishes her, who loves her, who pines for her, who whatever your criteria is. I think we should have those expectations of men, especially in the romance genre if we're talking about like FMC and MMC, but also other variations of that. I don't think that there should ever be this conversation of like, oh, he was too perfect and a female wrote him too perfect because, well, hopefully they're basing it off of their own relationships or their own ideals or what they're or an example too. I mean, that's another thing is like to think about so many women that could read that and maybe they're not in any sort of relationship or they're in a not great relationship and now this like sets a new bar for them that is saying like, you know what, I should be treated a little bit more like that. Yes, is it a fictional character 100%, but like I should be treated that way. And so that probably didn't even come out the way that I wanted to. Not sure it made sense, but that is, I know that that's like been a topic of other romance books too. And it really bothers me every time I see people say that. I don't know how anyone else feels.
I agree with you, Brie. I hadn't thought about it, to be honest, from that point of view until you went through your thoughts, and I think it's very well said. For me, I approach it from like the reason I read is to escape and go on an adventure and like go into another world. And so I don't always like I need the world to be fun and engaging and exciting and enticing and an adventure. But that's why I read. I'm not reading as a manual who I'm going to interact with or who I'm going to find or how I deal with a private equity firm that's going to take my patent. It's not why I'm reading. And so, when I look at like the perfect MMC or the perfect FMC or, whatever, you could see it going both ways. I think I look at it like it's entertainment. I was highly entertained. And, that's, I think where, at least for me, that's where it stays is like, it's okay that they're perfect because it's a story. It's fiction. It's here to have fun and like and kind of leave it there and enjoy the ride and then move on to the next.
I totally agree. And I feel like what that tone is saying to me, those who like are saying they're too perfect or whatever, is like, are we not allowed to fantasize? Are we not allowed to like want certain traits in people? And by we, I mean women readers, whoever that audience might be. It feels like, in my opinion, it's starting to feel like authors can't really win because when you have a male writer writing a female character, oh, well, she's too whatever. That's not realistic either. Or you've really portrayed them to be like ultra sexualized or whatever the case may be. And then now it's kind of the flip side for women writing male main characters where it's like, well, now they're ultra sexualized or they're ultra perfect and they're ultra like Ken dolls basically. And it's like, I understand that maybe that's pushing boundaries too far to those extremes, but equally, you can dream, you can fantasize, you can think about like, what would my ideal perfect man be? Let me put pen to paper and write that down. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. And I think, Emily, to your point, like it's an escape. Maybe you don't have that main male character in your life. Maybe they're unavailable. Maybe it's your best friend, whatever the case may be. But can't you think about it? Can't you dream about it? Can't you escape into that for just a little while and let yourself have fun and be free while you're reading that book? So it's frustrating that we even have to have some of those discussions because that is the point of reading.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, like you said, you're reading an owner's manual and then maybe you do want to take that seriously. But for the rest of us, fun. It's fine to have these ideas.
Yes.
On that point,
go ahead, Emily. No, go ahead.
On that point, I'm really curious how Connor is going to come through in the next book we're reading. Because in like it also I think is a perspective from how the angle the book is written. Does that even make sense? But like the angle the story is told from.
The point of view. Yeah,
Thank
perspective.
you.
Sure.
And because in this book, right, like Connor was fine, but he like was not the perfect guy. I know he wasn't the MNC, but he was not the perfect man. And I'm curious when we shift the POV to Eli's sister, is Connor now the perfect man? In which case it's all perspective, right? And you could have, from one angle they're hideous and from another angle they're perfect. So I'm curious.
Well, and I totally agree with that because I feel like most of the discussions of Connor are from Rue's point of view, who's getting her company taken over by him. So of course he's the bad guy for her. So then,
Right.
yes, exactly. It makes total sense that when we shift perspectives, we're going to see, oh yeah, he's like a really, hardworking man and like very domineering in those situations. But
Right.
as a lover, he could be wonderful.
You just don't know.
I'm
Well,
sure we'll find out on that point.
Yes.
I will be very curious and intrigued to revisit that conversation too. The only thing that I want to add to the mix too, right, as a married woman is like being careful with the expectations, right? And that's something that like my husband and I have had to have conversations about, or even just communicating different things of, okay, yeah, separating fiction and reality, but also adjusting my mindset, adjusting my expectations, because
T, what
I,
expectations are we discussing specifically? Like, is this
like,
bedroom? Like, is this
just
financial? What is
general,
the case?
like in general, your partner being like the perfect
Okay, okay,
partner,
okay.
right? Like male main character energy, like, and I've talked a lot about this being an Abby Jimenez, like number one fan, right? Because that's something Abby Jimenez, Ali Hazelwood, Carly Fortune, you can talk about any of these female authors and how they write these perfect men. Well, okay, as the reader, adjusting your expectations and your understanding of what it is that you're reading, can there be an element of reality that you can take away? Maybe, maybe not. But you also have to just understand, right? Consider the source and separate some of that out. Because in my marriage, I know I am not always great at doing that, right? Like, you should do this, you should do that. Like, oh, like, do you see what he did? Or do you see how great that was? Like, and it maybe that doesn't even come out in conversations with my partner, with my husband. Maybe it does, but that being aware of that thought process
I
for
think
myself. Do you know
like,
what
yeah,
I'm
what
saying?
I think I'm hearing what you're saying. Like it's kind of this idea that it's in a book, it's an escape, it's a different world, and that they're separate. There's reality and there's in the book, and that's kind of where it stays.
If I'm reading to escape, I have to make sure to acknowledge I'm reading to escape, and I'm not reading with the efforts or interest of making that like entire thing my reality. If that makes sense. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know.
Yes.
I
Yes,
don't know
I
if I
think
articulated all of that very well, but
No, I do agree with that. And I don't think, and to me, that's separate from the conversation of, and they're writing perfect men.
yeah.
Like, to me, I see those in almost two different lanes. And,
It's
but
like
they
a yes
somehow,
and
yeah, but then
yeah.
they somehow get like blended a little bit.
Yep.
And I think they're two very different things. Also, I can't stop staring at my pimple.
Oh,
you don't, like, literally no one can see
I
this.
don't think
No one.
I'm like, oh my gosh, she's
Please leave this
progressively
in.
growing. About to name her.
I didn't even know, Brie, when I came on until you said, like,
it's so
cannot
weird.
tell. Yeah.
No,
I'm
You
like,
can't see it.
I'm literally gonna like have to name her. I think she's gonna be here a while.
At a certain
Oh,
point, you kind of do if they,
Yeah, I think we're gonna
yeah,
be attached this week
yeah.
for
okay.
sure.
To kind of wrap it up a little bit, right? So obviously the whole business conflict resolution of it all, they end up putting together a deal that protects Rue's patent and also at the same time allows for the Harkness group to take ownership. And in a way, Florence still kind of gets a seat at the table, but a much smaller seat, if you will, where she's not running the show. And then, of course, it ends happily ever after, Rue and Eli getting engaged and all of the fun things. I don't know if we have any comments or thoughts on the rest of it.
I have 2 sentences. All I have to say is this is one of the things that I absolutely love about romance stories is everything is tied up in a neat little bow and everybody's happy and it works out in the end. And that's not the case with every story. But when I need a happy ending where I know everything, nobody's unreliable, and we wrap it up with a bow, it's great.
Perfect. I know. I love that. I love that. I love
I
that.
would say like the one thing I would love is like almost like a 5 years later. Just like a quick chapter of like a 5 years later. And maybe we'll get that in book 2. Maybe we'll kind of get
Yeah.
some sprinkles of like how things are going. Because I kind of want to check in on Rue and be like, girl, how's your career? How are you?
How's
What's
that
going
going?
on?
How you doing?
There you go. I
How many
like
more
that.
friends? Like what's going on with you?
Do we have better friends as well? And are we implementing boundaries?
Tiffany's a good friend.
Tish is a great
This is
friend.
a good
This
friend.
is fantastic.
This is a good friend.
Yes.
It's about quality, not quantity.
I
Agree.
want to see. Okay, I'm leaning into a book 2, prediction 2, and I know we've butchered her name, but the female doctor that works with Eli and Connor, Dr. M.
Minami.
We'll call her. Yep, Doctor. I'll just go with Dr. M. I hope she and Rue become buddies.
Yes.
They definitely seemed like they were on that
I would
path
love for them to be
so.
buddies. Yeah.
I also need to check in on her postpartum. Like, how are you as a mother now? How are things going?
There
How you
you
doing?
go. I like it. I like it. I like
She was
it.
pregnant.
Yeah, that I feel like that
love-
was literally like page 200. It was just like, oh yeah, she's
by the
pregnant
way.
now. Yeah.
It was a little added thing at like her in one of her conversations with
Yeah.
Eli. But yes. Well, okay. If we don't have anything else, I guess that concludes Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. Next up, we are sticking around with these characters. We're gonna see if Connor can be a Charlie. So you should find out. We are reading
No pressure.
Problematic Summer
No pressure.
Romance. No pressure. The bar is
Do
high.
the right thing.
Connor, my dude. The bar is very, very
Do
high.
the right thing.
So, but yes, until next time, then, my lovely ladies, listeners, friends, cheers.
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 Thanks so much for listening. The Narratives and Nightcaps podcast is a production of The Craft Co. with intro music created by Remington Haynes.
Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow at Narratives and Nightcaps on Instagram or visit our website, narrativesandnightcaps.com.
Sign up for our newsletter to always know what we're reading next, which authors are joining us on the show, and for extra bookish and beverage info.
Connect with our additional co-hosts, Jordan and Emily, as well.
You can find me on Instagram at Cozy Reads and Sips.
And you can find me on Instagram at books.bottles.
Cheers!
Cheers.